We're learning. The new technology.
To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Subbhata, knower of the world, supreme God of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the shock of pain, I prostrate, make offerings, and look for refuge. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all free ever devout homage, to all worthy of respect, power, bodies, many in all realms, atoms, in all aspects. With supreme faith, I make homage. I do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Superior mind, perfect. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, illusions, a drop of a dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these mirrors, may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of false, and be delivered from samsara's illusion, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. And then we'll recite this mantra 3 times. Tayata Om Gate Gate Adalate Vadasankate Bodhisattva. Tayata Om Gate Gate Adalate Vadasankate Bodhisattva. Tayata Om Gate Gate Adalate Vadasankate Bodhisattva. In a short mandala. Saji Guji Joshin Meto Tamri Ravisti Refuge once in English and twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge in time and light to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Son. By the merits I crave, distinct to the Dharma, may I become the Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chodam Sukhi Sonam Sanchu Bhari Dhammi Tatsuchi Dadi Shoshoti Ve Sonam Di Droha Sangye Rupa Sho Sangye Chodam Sukhi Sonam Sanchu Bhari Dhammi Tatsuchi Dadi Shoshoti Ve Sonam Di
So, more samsaric things, probably we need a clock there, just to keep watch time.
and 20.
It's okay.
It's okay.
With all the masks, hard to recognize. I didn't recognize some of you when I was coming in. I didn't recognize Patrick. I just came back. So, so yesterday we talk on the importance and the benefit of cultivating the Bodhichitta mind and what Bodhichitta mind is about. And then we talk about, the meditation, the method practice, different meditations to cultivate that Bodhichitta mind. And mainly two different method or meditations. And whatever method you choose to, whatever particular method that you find more suitable and effective, helpful, and you choose to follow that, starting with the equanimity foundations. And so we talk about yesterday about equanimity, because if we can develop equanimity, then on the basis of equanimity, then if you try to develop love and compassion and expand to all sentient beings, then it becomes possible and easier and possible to expand to all sentient beings. Without equanimity, we will not be able to expand to all sentient beings. And so therefore that foundation of equanimity become very important. And yesterday, even though we didn't have time to do the meditation together, but I did explain how to meditate and ask you to do this, the homework. So I hope you did either yesterday or today on that. A lot of time we listen, a lot of teachings, we listen, we read, but we don't sit to really meditate and feel it. And it's very different, if we really want to have really transformations in our mind, in our heart, it's so important. Necessarily, the sitting doesn't always mean on cushions, you can still meditate while in the nature as well, but basically contemplating, meditating on that subject, so that you started to really not just understand intellectually and see, oh, it is nice and good, but actually really feel that. And that when you started to feel, that is where the true transformation started to happen. And so that is very important. And so today, I'd like to start with first, with this particular method that is explained by Shantideva, equalizing, exchanging self with others, that particular method, so I think I thought maybe we'll discuss that method first and see, how it goes. As Shantideva himself said, in his Guides Bodhisattva way of life, without the practice of this bodhicitta, equalizing, exchanging self with others, there's no way we can achieve our highest potential fully awakened state. But also, even while we are in, samsara, there's no way that we can achieve true real happiness, True sense of real happiness comes through that true love, compassion, bodhicitta mind. when we have that true love, compassion, bodhicitta mind, then we started to feel sense of meaning in our life. Sense of meaningful to have this life instead of feeling empty, You feel, what it is, purpose of your life. And that gives you a lot of, joy, because you see there is a purpose in your life, high purpose in your life, and that also, give you that kind of true inner satisfaction, joy, happiness. And sense of, love for yourself instead of self-hatred, A lot of time, self-hatred comes because we feel we are bad person, we are not good persons, because I'm not good enough. All of that, we build up all these kind of different thoughts about ourselves, who we are and what we do and what we think and all of that, and then we started to see yourself as a bad person, not a good person, and that is where you started to lose the trust in yourself, confidence in yourself, and then have self-hatred. And sometimes that can also lead to losing the confidence in others as well. Then we think, oh, everyone is like me. Everyone is like me. So if I cannot trust myself, if I don't have confidence in myself, how can I have trust and confidence in others? On the other hand, when you have that kind of true sense of love, compassion, bodhicitta mind, and you feel good about yourself because of that, and you also start, others people are also like me. They also must have compassion, love, and you have more trust in others, trust in yourself that lead to trust in others, more confidence in yourself that lead to more confidence in others, more sense of compassion to yourself, and also that lead to more compassion to the others as well. So therefore, so that we already discussed so much as today, that why it's so important to cultivate that bodhicitta, true love, compassion, bodhicitta mind. And as Shantideva explained, not only he explained, but that is, if we really contemplate and think deeply, it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense, and it's true. So the coming to the actual practice itself, the meditation practice step, there is kind of 5 stages of meditations. So the first step of the meditations is what we call equalizing self with others. Okay. And equalizing self with others is basically meditating to feel that we all are equal and same. All sentient beings and yourself. So in that meditations, we try to focus on the same and oneness and similarity instead of focusing on the differences. At the moment, we focus too much on differences. That create the distance and the deviations. On the other hand, there's common same oneness. And if we focus that, then we feel more closer to each other instead of distant. And when we feel more closer to each other, then, it's much more easier to feel love, compassions, and to develop love, compassion, bodhicitta mind. And so that, so the way we, as His Holiness the Lama always, mentions, we as a human being, we have the same kind of brain, same kind of body, same kind of emotions, and so therefore, there is kind of similarity or one, and focusing on that. And if you go deeper than that, as Buddha said, Shantava, and His Holiness says, basically, if you go deeper, then we each, every sentient beings wish and desire to be happy, and no one wish any sufferings. No one, from small insects to all other animals, all human beings that we see, and all other sentient beings that we cannot see. Everyone innately, it is not something that they train to feel that way. Innately, when you are born, from the very age, you want to be happy and do not wish to suffer. That is why everyone try to avoid that lead to sufferings. Everyone try to gather that lead to happiness. And so that is not something that need to be taught. That is not something that need to be taught. Everyone innately wish to be happy and not to suffer. And we all are same and equal in that, in all sentient beings. That fundamental oneness. And so we all have, just as we want to be happy and not to suffer, each and every sentient beings equally want to be happy and not to suffer. No differences in that. And not only we have right to be happy and not to suffer, each and every sentient beings have right to be happy and not to suffer. And not only we have the potential to be happy and not to suffer, each and every sentient beings have the same potential to be happy and not to suffer. So in these meditations, that is what we try to focus on. That sense of that equalness, sense of that fundamental oneness in that level. Instead of focusing on differences, how we look, what view we have politically, spiritually, what colors we are, what kind of, all that we give too much at the moment, we give too much focus on that. And we forget to see the oneness. And that is the problem in the world is like that, the problem is that if we focus too much on the differences, if there's two persons, there's always going to be differences. That means we always have to fight all the time. Forget about two persons, even with yourself, your mind is changing all the time. One moment you think this is great, next moment is bad. One moment you think, oh, I should do this, and you do that, and next moment, oh, I shouldn't have done that. So, our view and mind changes all the times. So there is a different views, one moment, the next moment. And if you focus on that, then there's no way to really, feel close and to have a real sense of true affections, compassions, So we have to go beyond the surface and go on the deeper level. On the surface, there is a differences, there's a differences how we look. There is a differences in what we think, in terms of different view on different areas, whether it's spiritual, polity, or everything's, but we shouldn't be focusing too much on that. We should go beyond that and focus on that thing that we have common, same commonness. And that one common thing that we all have is that we all want to be happy and not to suffer. And that is what we try to really feel in that meditation, in that practice. As Shantideva says, whether the suffering is yours or others, since it's suffering, it's something unwanted. So therefore, we should stop and put effort to release, to reduce and eliminate the suffering. It doesn't matter whether it's your suffering or someone's suffering, because it's a suffering. It is something unwanted, something that no one desires, something no one wish. And so therefore, it doesn't matter whether it's yours or others, because that is something nobody wants. When it comes to happiness, this is something everyone's desire, everyone wish, everyone wants. And so therefore, whether it's your happiness, whether it's someone's happiness, we should always try to, put effort to obtain that happiness, whether it's your own happiness or the happiness of others for them. So through that understanding, reflection, contemplation, meditating, then, trying to see oneness, As His Holiness the Lama says, it's easy for him he feels it's so easy for him to connect and with anyone, rich, poor, east, west, spiritual, non-spirituals, different spiritual path. Because when he sees them, he only sees them as human being to human beings. He doesn't see that I'm Dalai Lama, monk, that one's lay persons, or I'm Tibetan, that one's Americans, or I'm spiritual, that is not spiritual, whatever. He always tries to see them as human beings, and when you connect as human beings to as human beings, we can be more transparent, more open, and able to communicate better and understand better, and that really makes the difference, And so the Buddha's explaining not only human beings, go beyond that to see as sentient beings. We all are sentient beings. Basically seeing everyone same, that we all are sentient beings. And if we can feel that way, and if we interact with that understanding, that feeling, I think it will it will kind of destroy a lot of the boundaries that we create among ourselves. A lot of the boundaries we create ourselves. So that is the first meditation. Equalizing self with others. Equalizing self with others, meaning just as we want to be happy and not to suffer, we do not wish suffering. Each and every sentient being equally want to be happy and not to suffer. And we are equal and same in that. And understanding and feeling that is so important, because then that when we feel we are same and equal, then we can start to cherish others just as we cherish ourselves. At the moment we cherish ourselves. Not only cherish ourselves, we overly cherish ourselves. That's what selfish attitude, self-centeredness is. Not only we cherish ourselves, but overly cherish ourselves, but we find hard to cherish others. We struggle to cherish others. But if we are able to feel that oneness, that equalness, then just as you are able to cherish yourself, then you will be able to cherish others easily. And so therefore, then that opens, that understanding, that feeling open to cherish others and to feel love, compassion towards others. That is why when we do the meditation, why we go step by step. If you don't have that feeling, if we move to the loving compassion immediately, without that strong foundation, it will be more difficult. Or even we develop, it will not be so stable. So that is the first, in this meditation, that is the first. And you really have to meditate. And if you really, someone you dislike now, someone we dislike now, whoever that person might be, if you take enough time to reflect, contemplate, meditate, and see that person is no different from me, that person also just wish to be happy and not to suffer, just like myself. If we can connect on that level, if we can feel on that level, we will be able to feel compassion for that person. We will be able to feel, affections, concern for that person. And we will not have such a strong aversions and anger or hateful feeling that we have at the moment. Because at the moment we are unable to feel that, oneness of that person in ourselves. And so we need to give a lot of time to really contemplate and meditate on that, so that we can start to feel, that person is no different from me. No different from me. We might not agree with that person's actions, certain harmful actions, but why does that person engage in the harmful actions? On the deep inside, of course, on a immediately, maybe sometimes they might have a negative feelings, wanting to hurt someone. But if you go beyond that deeper level, it's not wanting to hurt someone, it's wanting to protect their happiness. We want our happiness, they want their happiness, and they feel danger to their happiness. Someone might take their happiness or cause of happiness. Someone might create obstacles for their happiness and cause of happiness. And that make them upset and angry, and that make them to act that way. So basically, if you go deeper level, it's not coming from wanting to hurt and harm others. It's coming from wanting to protect their happiness. And I think if we can connect that, if we understand that, I think it will be much more easier for us to forgive, let it go, not to be so upset and angry. It doesn't mean that we allow their harmful action to continue. We have to take any actions to stop such harmful actions, but without hostile feelings, without anger and hatred. That is the key. So this practice is not about not stopping that person's action, changing or not changing action, but it's about cultivating certain attitude, certain mind. Instead of hostile feelings, cultivating sense of true love and compassion. And we can do that, like sometimes with your friends, families, children. When they make a mistake, out of compassion, you try to inspire or make them sure they don't do that, and you don't agree with that. And if there's any actions that you can take them to from harming themselves, harming someone else, you try to do that. You don't allow them to do that, but out of concern, out of compassion, not out of hostile feelings. And so that is where, so I think it's important to really understand that, because a lot of time we feel, that person's intentionally hurt and harm others. That is the only intention why he or she is doing that. And so when you feel that they are intentionally trying to hurt and harm someone and doing that, then it's much more harder. It's much more harder to let it go, to have forgiveness, to feel compassion. But again, even though immediate kind of thoughts or emotion might be, but what is beneath that drive that person have that thought, on deeper level is all about wanting to be happy and not to suffer, and how to protect their happiness and how to avoid the sufferings. And whenever they feel there is something that can lead them to suffering, then they become defensive. And as a way of defensive is sometimes offensive. Sometimes it is to avoid their sufferings they don't want. Sometimes it is to protect their happiness that they want. And in the process of trying to protect your happiness, in the process of trying to avoid your sufferings, and whenever you feel, the danger to that, then you become a defensive, how to protect yourself from that. And a lot of time, we all, the way we try to become defensive is becoming offensive. So to understand why they are offensive, because of defensive. Why they are defensive? Because of they feel danger to their happiness. If you understand on that level, I think it becomes much more easier. It becomes much more easier to feel more compassion, more understanding, more better understanding why that person's act that way. And maybe feel compassion, instead of hostile feelings. Because when we have that kind of hostile feelings, basically we destroy our own happiness, that is all. Whether that feeling hurts the other person, not sure. Might not. But what really hurts is ourselves. So if we want to protect our own happiness, our own well-being, then we should not have any hostile feelings, regardless of there is a truth in that person's behavior, truth in whether it's truth or not truth, or whether the actions are based on truth or not truth. That doesn't matter, Of course, it matters, but here when we're trying to develop about not having hostile feeling, that's what I'm talking about from that point of view. Regardless of that, once you have that hostile feelings of, anger, aversion, hatred feelings, basically it eats up your own immune system. It destroys your peace, your happiness. Not only it destroys your happiness, your peace, it destroys happiness and peace of people around you. If I'm upset and angry, anyone who comes near me can feel that energy. That energy is not a good energy. That disturbs someone's mind. That disturbs someone's mind. When people around you, so then everyone's mind is disturbed. And your mind is disturbed, then it is easy to get in argument easily, even with the small things. So that is, instead of hostile feeling, then we try to feel sense of loving kindness, compassion feelings. And in order to feel that love and compassion and not to have hostile feeling, then again, understanding that person, hostile feelings, that hostile actions is rooted in trying to protect their happiness and avoid the suffering. That's all. Fundamentally, on the deeper level, is coming from that level. I think that understanding can be very strongly profound. Not just, of course, understanding, but actually feeling that, really feeling that way. That is absolutely true, that is what it is. And that we can understand with our own experiences, For example, someone said bad things about you, criticize you, put you down, say that thing to you, so then you want to, respond back, also, criticizing them and talking bad about themselves. And then you have that thought and you act that way. Why do you act? Because, through that person's criticism, you feel danger to your own happiness, your own well-being. And you don't want to lose that. Your reputations, whatever which you feel that is a kind of source of your happiness, that you relate with your happiness, whether that is true happiness or not, but which we relate that as our well-being, our happiness, And so once you feel danger to your own, then that is how then you respond in that way. It's not like you have been planning from the very beginning, wanting to hurt them, Something happens and then it feels like there's danger to your own well-being, your own happiness, and then you started to protect, starting to protect and defense, and then that you act in that. And that is how we act. And so understanding intellectually doesn't really penetrate unless you really give enough time to really contemplate, really try to feel it. Of course, understanding intellectually help us to drive to guide in practice meditations, but the main things, penetrating transformations, can only come when we started to really take the time to reflect, contemplate, meditate. And you might not feel that immediately, It might require many meditations, many sessions, and then started to feel that. And sometimes you feel for a moment, but maybe next meditation you might not feel that way. Sometimes we are just small opening here and there in the meditations. You have some good experience, but that might not be there all the time at the very beginning, So again, we continue to practice meditate, and then you reach a point where you always feel that way. You always feel that way. Not only when you meditate, but even when you don't meditate, because it has penetrated so strongly that you started to feel that way all the time, and responding with that kind of understanding, with that, and that is where we want to reach, that state. And so that is the first, and second is the second stages of meditations is, contemplating and meditating on the disadvantage of the selfish attitude, self-centeredness, or how that selfish attitude or self-centeredness is the main enemy, the real enemy, that destroy ourselves and our happiness, that destroy others' happiness, others and other happiness. That's the worst enemy, compared to the external enemy. As Shantideva said, all the sufferings that is in the world, all the suffering in the samsara is a result of self-grasping and selfish attitude. Self-grasping and selfish attitude is a result of that. Not only he said that, but if we really contemplate, if we really give enough time and trying to understand deeper level, it is true. It is that selfish attitude and self-grasping that is the very root of all our sufferings. And we haven't understood that fully from the depth. That is why whenever there is some problem, whenever there is sufferings, we always blame something external. Always blame something external. Someone, something outside. We hardly actually even think possibility of this my selfish attitude that is involved here, why I'm suffering. Sometimes we don't even think that. Even the possibility, forget about thinking it is because of that, taking responsibility because of that selfish attitude, that is why I'm suffering. We don't even think the possibility of the role it is playing in that. Immediately, it's him, her, his actions, her actions, his or her attitude, his or her behavior, this and that. Why I'm upset, why I'm angry, why I'm not happy, why I'm suffering. First of all, when we do that, you lose your you give the the string of the car to someone else. On the other hand, when we understand it's because of my own selfish attitude and my self-grasping, then we take in charge of that ourselves. I don't have to suffer. I can be happy by changing my mind, by getting rid of that selfish attitude. I don't have to wait and depend on others to change their attitude, to change their behavior, to change their actions for me to be more happy and not to suffer. At the moment we feel that way and we give the hands to others, and we can only hope and pray the other person changes their behavior, change their attitude, change their actions. So we give totally, total kind of the freedom to someone else. And if we really think, if we are upset and angry, because someone has been nasty to yourself, your family, your friends, or someone, you feel, even you don't know, but somehow you feel with that person for whatever reasons, when someone nasty, then we become very unhappy, upset, angry. And that upset, angry, disturbed mind make us suffer. Why were we that? Why were we upset? Why we were angry? By that person's nasty attitude, actions, behavior, because of our selfish attitude, If that person do the same nasty behavior and action to someone you dislike, you might not mind so much. You might not be upset, angry. Probably you might not mind. Sometimes you might even encourage. You might rejoice. You might even rejoice. Not only rejoice, sometimes you might even encourage someone else to be nasty to that person. So why is the same actions, same behavior, same attitude? Is a attitude, behavior, action that is harming another being. But why are we upset with when it's done to someone, and why we are not upset with someone when it's done to others? Because that one is my family, my friends. It's more to do with me and my. So that comes from that kind of self-cherishing and self-grasping attitude. And that is the same with everything. We get upset and argue and upset and fight, verbally, physically, mentally, on all different issues, so many different issues. And why do we fight? Is it because we have different views on the issues? Is that why we are fighting? No. I believe it's not because of the different view issue that we have. It's because of our mind's selfish attitude, self-grasping, sense of feeling, I'm always right. You are always wrong. We can have differences, different view. We can have respectful conversations and respectfully disagree without any kind of hostile feelings, fightings. But that is not the case. It becomes fighting instead of discussions because there is hostile feeling involved. And that hostile feelings arises because of that certain attitude about that, when you have that selfish attitude, it is all about me. It is all about me, become about me instead of about others or us. It's not even about us, it's about me. It's not even about how it can be best for us. It's all about how it can be best for me. If it's not best for me, then I'm not happy about it. Even though it might be best for us, but I'm still not happy because it's not best for me. It's best for us, but it's not best for me. Do you get it? Forget about it's best for the others. We are not even happy when it's best for us because it's not best for me. And it's that selfish attitude, that self-centeredness, It's that, it's all about me. It has to be the center of the world. It has to be everything has to revolve around that self. It's all about that. And when that is not met, then we are unhappy. We're unhappy. And that is where all our unhappy mind, all our sufferings come through, that selfish attitude. That selfish attitude. If there is no selfish attitude involved, even when someone criticizes, act nasty, even when they are not so great, you will not be so hurt. If you don't feel so hurt, you will not be unhappy and suffer. You will not be unhappy and suffer, You just can kind of let it go. It's just like, someone criticizing someone you dislike, it doesn't really hurt you. You can just kind of let it go. Same thing when we don't have that kind of selfish attitude, self-centeredness. Even someone criticizes something, you can just let it go without feeling hurt. And if you don't feel hurt, there's no reason to suffer because of that hurtful feelings. Yeah, and so because our strong selfish attitude, we become so sensitive and we become so easily hurtful with even small things. So easily hurtful with even small things. And that makes our life much more unhappy, because we continually experience that hurtful feeling all the time, so often. And because our selfish attitude, we have this strong, out of that strong selfish attitude, we have this feeling that we must be treated this way, we should be respected this way, they should act that way to me, this and that, and it's all. And when that is not met, then we become unhappy. Understanding that selfish attitude or self-centeredness is the root of all the sufferings become very crucial. If you understand that, then we'll put more effort to reduce that and work on that. Whenever there is any kind of suffering, whenever we have any kind of feeling of unhappy, suffering, so then we try to work with that, because we know the cause of that unhappiness, the cause of that suffering, the cause of that is deep, that selfish attitude. So, so how can I reduce that selfish attitude? How can I remove that selfish attitude? And then we try to apply different practices, meditations to do that, and spend more energy and resource and effort towards that. And when you put more effort, resource, and more time, energy to reduce and to remove that, you will be able to make more progress more quickly and better. At the moment, when when we're unhappy, when we are, dissatisfied, when we are feeling hurt and all of that, immediate kind of is outside. How can I solve that? Because we feel this is the root of that problems. And so all our energy, all our resource, all our effort is gone outside to fix something outside, external. Instead of going inside, working with inside. So we hardly really work with ourselves, with our mind. Every time we have some problems in our life, always feel like it is something out there. The outside, whatever that is the cause of that. And so always, and so understanding that deeply, that actually it is, the main cause, the actual root cause, the primary cause of our unhappiness and suffering is our own selfish attitude, self-grasping, mind. And therefore, that I need to focus more, put more effort to work with that. And less selfish attitude, more easier to cultivate loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta. Because that selfish attitude is the root obstacle, the primary obstacle or interference to cultivate true love, compassion, bodhicitta towards others. So I think maybe it's better to sit a little bit instead of too much talk. Just make yourself comfortable. Try to relax as much as you can. If possible, straight your spine or back. And feel the weight of your body on the cushions or the chair. Breathe in just naturally, normally, and watch it mindfully as you breathe in and out. Then we can generate good motivation. Think, may this meditation become cause and condition to actualize bodhicitta, mind, wisdom, realizing emptiness, and all other spiritual experience or realizations. And maybe it becomes cause and condition to obtain fully awakened state for the benefit of all sentient beings. Then we can bring, to the person imagine or bring in your mind in front of you, someone you're very close, someone who is more like a stranger, neutral, and someone you dislike most, and then surrounded by all other sentient beings, all in human form. Then we try to see, how we want to be happy and do not want suffering, even the smallest suffering, problem. Even in a dream, and we had that innate feeling from the very birth, without being taught by anyone. And not only ourselves, the three persons and all other sentient beings surrounding them, each of them equally from the birth, innately wish to be happy and not to suffer. We all are same and equal in that. Try to feel that sense of equalness and same on that level, on that fundamental root level. Especially try to focus on someone you dislike, how that person is not different from us. To have the wish to be happy and not to suffer, just like ourselves. And just as we have a right to be happy and not to suffer, each and every sentient being has equally same right to be happy and not to suffer. And just as we have the potential to be happy and not to suffer, each and every sentient being has also same potential to be happy and not to suffer equally. So try to see if you can feel that oneness, that equalness, that sameness on that level. So in that sense, we all are one part, one same family or part of same world, same sentient beings. It's like a different part of the body, which is part of one whole body. Therefore, taking care of others is taking care of oneself. The one wholeness, which one is part of that. Reducing the suffering of others is reducing the suffering of oneself. Reducing the suffering of the whole, which one is part of that one wholeness. Accomplishing the happiness of others is accomplishing the happiness of one wholeness, that which they belong, which we belong. So try to see if we can feel that. That reducing the suffering of others is directly, indirectly reducing our own suffering. because we are not isolated, but we are dependent arisings. Their suffering affect us. Our suffering affect them. Their happiness affect us. Our happiness affect them. Then we can bring back your focus on the breath. And you can dedicate the virtues to generate the two bodhicitta mind. For those who have not actualized, to actualize, for those who have already actualized, not to diminish but increase more and more. We also dedicate the virtues to enlightenment, for the benefit of all sentient beings. We also dedicate for the well-being and happiness of all sentient beings. Okay, so I think at the moment, I think we'll do more question and answer later. Okay, then I think we will meet again at 1. Okay, thank you. Bye.